actually create babies. Whatever's in our line, whatever's in our background, whatever's in our lineup, that goes into that. And I have no explanation for exactly how that comes to fit for each individual, because it has to fit differently for different individuals. They have to look at themselves, and there's certain magicians who like to use cultural, magical symbolism that comes from where they come from, and they can use that more effectively, I think, than someone who is not of that background. And I think that's just logical. I think it makes sense. It's not a value judgment, and I don't know if there are particular backgrounds that are better at particular things. I have no idea. But if evidence that came to support that idea, I would say that you evaluate it based on the results, essentially. I think that for men especially, there's a need to, I don't know a better way to put it than to explore your semen. When we do astral work, like it says in Liber O, from Magic in Theory and Practice, we learn to focus on symbols and ideas and to astrally investigate them. And we're expected to, if we're having reliable results, to have an astral experience that in some way coincides with the ideas represented in the symbol. I think that people should be able to do that reliably before they try to do anything like this, and get to the point where they can actually like take a symbol. Even this is one of the things that Crowley used to do when he tested people for the AA. He would give them a symbol that they didn't know the meaning of and ask them to astrally investigate it, and if their astral experience coincided with what he knew the symbol meant, then he would take that as a they knew how to do their astral work, basically, because that's the test. It's like if you know what it is beforehand, then you know what to expect, and to a certain extent you can anticipate, and your imagination can get into play of the astral experience, and you can warp it to make it into what you know you're supposed to be having. Whereas if there's a symbol you don't know, and you still have the experience that you're supposed to have, then that's an accurate experience. So when someone knows how to do that, I would suggest that they start to look at their own desires, their own sexual desires, what makes them aroused, and in some cases, at least for men, and I'll get to this in a second, at least for men, literally to astrally explore the physical material that is produced by the orgasm. A lot of female magic is centered around menstruation, and I don't really see that that's a good connection necessarily, because you're dealing with material that's already gone through its cycle. It's not vital in the same way. I don't know what the answer is. I wish I did, but I don't. And I don't think I can find out because I'm not a girl.
Have you ever seen Annie Sprinkles have an orgasm?
Who?
Annie Sprinkles. She was a big porn star in the 60s and 70s.
No. Well, maybe I should. Maybe I should.
She has a video at the... She has a video.
Your homework for today.
Yeah.
You should look it up.
All right.
If I could make a comment about the menstrual cycle, actually, I do see it as like you said, it's not the pure creative material itself, but do they not bleed out the egg?
Yeah, but the egg is dead at that point. It's not. It can't be vitalized. Although I'm not saying that menstrual blood isn't a powerful force, and you find that going back a long way. Oh yeah, absolutely. Anyway, let Captain Redbeard finish. Yeah, so there's a danger. There's a danger when we work with Libero and try to work with these symbols, and this is the main thing that people have to have in mind before they start to do this, because especially to investigate their sexual desires and their state, what causes a state of sexual arousal, there has to be a certain amount of objectivity towards one's own thoughts. You know that that's starting to fail if you start to reinterpret 777 and Sefer Sephiroth and the books that we have to give us our indications. And you find this a lot. When people first start out with magic and they start out doing like the Rising on the Plains exercise, they start to think that they have this whole new reformulation of the system that's just unique to them and their own way of interpreting it. Actually, what they're having is inaccurate experiences, and they're trying to reinterpret the alphabet to make what they're saying make sense, if that metaphor plays. I think it does. And that's a big danger, and you see that a lot. And anyone who's just starting out with astral work and suddenly decides they have a whole new system, just like take it for granted that you're wrong. I've made this mistake. I made this mistake more than once. So like, I'm not saying that it's like you're an idiot for doing this because it's very tempting to do this, and pretty much everyone gets tempted to do this at one point or another, to just reformulate the system, and it's a mistake. The next thing that we need to do is yoga. There has to be good thought yoga, not just body yoga, because I mean we all talk, like in Liber E, Crowley says that we should be doing pranayama and asana, and that's important and that's good, but we have to get to the point where we can attain pratyahara, which is called the awareness of thought, and that's the state, and that's I think chapter 3 in Crowley's 8 lectures on yoga, where he talks about this state of mind where one is aware of oneself as though someone was someone else, and that comes back to ecstasy. It's literally as though you were standing outside of yourself, looking at your own thoughts. And it's not until you get to that point that you can safely investigate your own sexual desires, because otherwise you're too bound up in them. And it's interesting what you see when you start doing that. You literally I don't know. I don't think I'm unique in this regard, but I know that when I started to have these kind of attainments, I felt like I was looking at a person that I had never known before. Like, the things that seemed to turn me on and get me off were like, I was just like, who the fuck are you? Like, seriously. And that came to a major personality readjustment in my own mind. But it's easy, especially with sexual desires, it's very easy to get caught up in programs of thought and images and ideas and completely hide them from yourself, because it's such we don't talk about it with each other. It's one of the few areas of our own personal life that is considered so personal that it's like rude to bring up. If you even want to casually discuss your sexual desires outside of kind of a locker room, machismo type environment, or if you want to like seriously talk about the things that go through your mind, then people get uncomfortable. They don't like to hear about it. And you're labeled as a disgusting person for even bringing it up. And that is highly problematic, because it is the input of other people who have perspective on us outside of ourselves, that help us develop in our own life, in our personal life. It's when our friends tell us that we're being an idiot about this, that, or the other thing, that's how we know we're being an idiot, because usually we just think that we're right. Most of the time. I don't know. I do, anyway. I don't know about you guys. So, these are the preconditions for using the substance, as it's frequently referred to, or the blood, as Crowley constantly calls it. Ideally, we're talking about the mixture of male and female fluids, which brings into play a number of questions, such as, how do we use protection? How do we find an accurate partner? And it's one of the things that makes this very difficult is the fact that someone who's necessarily good for you in terms of sex magic is not necessarily someone who's going to be good for you in terms of a life partner, in terms of a relationship. Those are different considerations. And if they come together, that's wonderful and amazing. But it's not necessarily going to happen all the time. Protection is, I know Crowley himself, he was very anti-abortion, he was very anti-condoms. One of the reasons he was anti-abortion was because he had set up the OTO in his conception of it, not in the way that it's being played out today, as a way to take in the children of unwed mothers and to raise them itself, because he did not believe the family unit was a viable social condition. He actually thought it was destructive and hurtful for the people who were involved in it. So he sought to replace the family unit with a social institution to raise children, thus freeing women of the burden of they still have to go through childbirth, but they don't have to be economically supportive of the child for its entire life or dependent on raising the child. There's an institution that will do that. So they have the child, it goes to the institution, and they carry on with their lives, essentially. And that was one of his steps to sexual freedom, which we still haven't seen today. And, frankly, what we have for social institutions to deal with children who are given up for adoption or given away is appalling and disgusting. And as a society, you would think that we would be focused on that, but we're just not. So a condom certainly negates a certain amount of the energy that's involved in the combined sexual act. Although I think that certainly for recreational sex, it's mandatory. But at the same time, this calls into question: how do we deal with this problem? And I'm not saying there's a solution. I have no solution. I'm saying that this is the problem that will have to be grappled with if you want to seriously try sex magic. For the male, because the sperm is